Good evening and welcome to tonight's episode of On the Mark with Mark Hamade right here on Salina's True Rock Station 95.5 The Rock. I'm Morgan Lilick, your host, joined as always by Mark Hamade, the COO of PKM Steel right here in Salina. Happy to be here as always, and tonight's discussion, we are talking about being genuine. Now, this is a very vague topic that can go into a number of different areas, but for tonight's show, we are going to focus on what being genuine can do to improve your business, your organization. So my first thing for you, Mark, I always operate under the principle that my word is my bond. It's something I not only preach, but I practice every day at work. I try to be the most honest person people are ever going to meet over the course of their day. It is a big priority in my life, and to me, this epitomizes being genuine. Mark, what does being genuine mean to you?
Being genuine, to me as a leader especially, is one that's not a search for consensus, but a molder of consensus, where you get people around, where you tell them, hey, this is what I need done, and this is why I need it done, and this is how I think we should do it. What are your options? What are your idea? There's a reason to do it, and when you want to be genuine, you let people know why. If they know why you're doing something, then you can be genuine, and then they will see that. But if you're asking them for something and that you don't explain why, they might not think the reason is genuine. So it's very important to let them know why. Why are you selling them this sponsorship? Why are you wanting them to come Saturday? Why are you doing that? Is there an ulterior motive, or is there a reason that will be a benefit for them and everyone else?
Absolutely, Mark, and it's something that you can't just be genuine. You have to explain to people why you are genuine, what about what you're telling them is genuine, and motivate them to really take what you're saying, that genuine concept, and act on it. Now, Mark, it's one thing to speak or act genuinely, but it's another to follow through. And once you've got a signed contract, that to me is when the true test begins. You've earned their initial trust. Now it's time to prove that their trust was well placed. Mark, how do you make sure you follow through on your promises? And how has that follow through impacted future business dealings with a lot of the different organizations and companies you work with on a regular basis?
Well, it's critical that you don't overpromise, and it's critical that you deliver what you say. And if you're unable to, you let them know as soon as you're unable to, and you work the best way to mitigate it. It's critical. Communication is a two-way street. It's vital and profound that not only you demand it, but you receive it in a sense of concentration, making a genuine effort to let them know what's going on. So, it's about leading the philosophy to action and back again to enduring the fact and getting it done. And I would always say, learn to be quiet enough to hear the genuine within yourself so that you can hear it within others.
Have you worked in places before where you'd seen people acting genuine or talking genuine, but when it came down to producing the product, they weren't able to deliver on all the promises they made? And obviously, that couldn't have boded well for future business.
Well, absolutely. I think in the tech world you see it often, and I think you see it in any business where maybe you have a certain client or customer or maybe someone that calls on you, and every week it's a different person. Oh, my name is blah, 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 and now I have your account. And then 2 months later, my name's blah, 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 and I plan to be here for the next 5 years, and I'm your new account, blah, blah, blah. It rotates again and again.
So having staying power, very important as well. If you promise someone that you're going to be around 6 months from now, either one of two things: be around 6 months from now, or don't make that promise if you think there's a sliver of a chance that you won't be around 6 months from now. And we're not talking about saying you keel over, things don't go well for you, you have an unfortunate accident. We're not talking about things like that. We're talking about you moving on to a different business, a different location, a different town. All you got to do, if you think that could happen, is be honest about it. Let somebody know.
And Morgan, I would add to that, support them and support the initiative, so that way they are able to feel warm and fuzzy and want to stay with that and not feel they're not going to be taken care of once the sale is done or once the agreement is done.
Mark, employees at companies like to receive credit when credit is due. Talk about what this means to you. How vital is it in your organization that upper management does this for its lower level personnel, and how does that translate to other places of business?
Well, with a leader like myself, I think it's more than critical. It really is, because I'm very hard on people. When they don't perform, they know it. I let them know flat out. So it's important that when you do a good job, you let them know. It's very disillusional. It's very sad. It's very morale buster. It gets you to have a bad day, a bad week, a bad year, bad everything when you keep being beat down on what went wrong and what didn't improve and what didn't happen right, even if that's the case. It's very tough, especially in the world right now where people are doing more business, but margins are less and less. So a lot of times you do a great job, but you still lose the sale, or you still make mistakes, or you still have to pay as a company, even though you did a good job. And so there has to be a fine line there where you're able to motivate the people and do what you can for them.
And remember, when they have come through and have gone above and beyond, done a great job, make sure to let your people know. It's that simple. Just give them the credit that they're due when they are due it. But Mark, on the other end of the spectrum, it goes both ways. Say you have an employee that you really like as a person, but their work performance isn't really up to par. Describe how to best give criticism when criticism is due.
Well, you let them know. You let them know where they stand, how they need to improve, and they need to buck up and start getting better. Or you give them a wage cut, and you tell them, once you improve on this, that, and this, then you'll get a pay increase. Until then, you're not. And if you don't like it, then take a hike.
But as always, it's important to be genuine about what you say. When you're giving this constructive criticism, it needs to be constructive. Don't just bring them into your office, lambaste them about their performance, but not give them any tools to try to succeed and get better. Explain to them why their performance is lacking, what you feel they're not doing well to reach the goals that they have set for them, and what they can better do to accomplish those goals. And then very important afterwards, to follow up on that, make sure that employee is taking the initiative to do what you've asked them to do. If they're not, if you've had this conversation with a person, but it's not getting any change done, then it might be time to look for other options within your company. Now, at the consumer interaction level, and this is going to be big for a lot of retail businesses out there, being genuine critical to earning and keeping the business of your consumers. Whether you are a manager, whether you're the owner, whether you're the employee that greets the person when they walk through the door, how do you teach the value of being genuine to these lower level employees, Mark, as they're often the ones at a retail level that are dealing with the consumer face to face?
Well, I'll give you an example from a restaurant perspective and from a women's shoes. The hardest people to really deal with are women because they're very, very picky. Not in a negative way.
It's true.
And I worked in a department, one of the best departments in the country and one of the most expensive in women's shoes. And one of the hardest things is, in a $26 million women's shoe department, is to be able to find the pair of shoes that she wants, A, and bring it to her fast enough with the right size, and B, to find that pair of shoes if she wants you to pick one for her that matches a dress and fits her comfortably and is priced right, and you're doing it fast. And when you're not able to do that, they can become brutal. So it's very important to be genuine and letting her know what you know and to work hard and to truly go out there and get her that pair. I used to have to bring out 3 to 5 pairs, and I would bring 3 to 5 pairs that I would think, because of the way she's dressed and how she is or what she's talked to me about, she would like. Other salespeople would just bring the pair she asked for and 4 other pair just because they had to bring 5 pairs. Well, then you'd open up those pairs and they're like, why did you bring those? I'm not interested. And you just brought them out to bring them out because you're supposed to bring out 5 pairs? It doesn't become genuine.
And then that person naturally takes their business elsewhere.
Absolutely.
Well, Mark, how can, and I know there's a lot of people out there and we're talking about being genuine. For those of you out there that are genuine, you're like, what are we talking about? This is something that comes naturally. And for people that are truly genuine, it really does come naturally. But, there's a lot of people out there who come off as fake. How can these people learn to become genuine if they are fake, or maybe they are being genuine, but they're just not being perceived as such? Is that even possible to change someone who is fake into a genuine person? And if so, Mark, what are some ways that ingenuine folks can learn to change?
Well, that depends, Morgan. I guess if they're truly fake, then they are being genuine. They're a fake, genuine person. But if they don't like that, I would say, don't compromise your integrity and really have a true identity. What do you want to really be? And with that, you can be genuine. I mean, as an example, a priest, to be genuine, you have to follow certain criteria. You have to live your life a certain way. No different than someone, who was an alcoholic. And now, if you're an alcoholic and you're recovered now, you shouldn't own a bar, as an example. It would defeat that purpose. So really have to have an identity of kind of what you're doing. If you are going to be chief financial officer, well, you should have your financial background, your bills, etc., up to par, because that's the business you're in, right? If you're a salesperson, then you should be honest and not overpromise and really let people sell them what you're really getting and make it clear that they're getting a good deal and really take good care of them. So have a true identity in whatever particular thing you're going to be doing.
And maybe there's some of you out there, it doesn't match, your true identity doesn't match what you do at work. Well, try to take the details, the things out of that identity that are genuine and bring those into the workplace in the model that is needed to be successful. I mean, for instance, Mark, you talked earlier about selling women's shoes. If I went and tried to do that tomorrow, there'd be a lot of things I didn't know about that. So say you're new at a job. You need to be genuine with your consumers. Let them know, hey, I'm new here, but I'm going to do everything I can to take care of you. If you've been there a while and you don't know, you need to make a reconcerted effort to know the business that you work in so you can give genuine information and genuine advice to your consumers, your clients, whoever is coming through your doors at any given time. But you need to use some common sense, Mark. Some people out there can be too genuine, and what I'm talking about here is in the field of sexual harassment. Whether you got a beautiful woman, a very attractive man in your office, whatever your preferences are out there, there are certain lines that you just got to make sure you don't cross. And Mark, that's one of those lines. So what can people do to avoid being too genuine?
Well, you just be really respectful. Be respectful. Respect that person for their intelligence, for what they bring to the table, and be understanding of their feelings and their thoughts. And just remember that everyone has a different threshold of the way they are. And some people are very touchy-feely. Some are not. So I always err on not touching anyone. And just be professional and really treat others like you want to be treated. And you may feel like, well, it's okay if that person does that to me. Well, it might be, but they might not feel it and they might not understand it. So if it's crossing the line, make sure you let them know, did I cross the line? Oh, I'm sorry. An example this weekend when I asked you, Morgan, a question about an item and you came back, go look at that site. And I said to you, hey, I didn't just email you because I didn't have 2 minutes to go look at that site. I couldn't find it. So that was being genuine, that I wasn't wasting your time or being lazy. I couldn't find it. And after a few hours of not finding it, I wanted to see if you knew. So I think sometimes you can get that clarification and let that person know. It's not being rude or whatever. I think they'll appreciate it at the end of the day.
And I did. Even though I knew that you weren't trying to be rude and weren't being lazy or anything like that, I still appreciated the follow-up after I'd sent it back. I was at my daughter's 4-H club days. You shot back with an email being like, no, I hope you don't think I'm lazy here. I'm just, trying to find it. And that is appreciated. And, because some people could read that the wrong way. I've had enough time here with you that I didn't. But other people, I could see how that would be misinterpreted. So it's always important to use some common sense out there. Be genuine, be honest, be truthful, but at the same time, know where the lines are. Use professionalism, don't cross it.
And also expand on what you're saying to that person so they understand where you're coming from. Sometimes you can say something and be very snappy, very fast, and it might be misconstrued as something completely different because it's through email or through phone and not in person. What we had this weekend, the dialogue could have been misconstrued in many different ways, even with our relationship. Mm-hmm. But going forward and going the extra mile and explaining it to you, then you truly understood.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what's important.
And it made it easy to transition through and to completely move on. So just make sure that your opinions are heard and voiced, and that if you get the feeling that someone's not understanding what you're saying, a little bit of an extra explanation never hurts at all. Well, when we come back from the break here, Susan Hawksworth will be joining us to continue our discussion about being genuine. Susan is the director of the Smokey Hill Museum. She's up next when we return to On the Mark with Mark Hamade on 95.5 The Rock. Welcome back to On the Mark with Mark Hamade on Salina's True Rock Station 95.5 The Rock, brought to you by some very valued sponsors. We appreciate your sponsorship of On the Mark, Hassman Termite and Pest Control, providing 50 years of quality service from the Hassman family. By the Reardon Clinic in Wichita, their doctors listen. Find out more at 1-800-447-7276 or online at reardonclinic.org. By PKM Steel, quality, passionate employees building tomorrow today. By Salina Iron and Metal, serving you from the same location for more than 100 years. And by Speedy Cash. Need cash fast? Visit your Salina Speedy Cash at Crawford and Broadway today. Our guest tonight on the Mark with Mark Hamade is Susan Hawksworth. Susan is the director of the Smokey Hill Museum in Salina, one of just 12 nationally accredited museums here in Kansas. She's got 19 years of experience working in the museum industry. She's also a member member of Salina's Cultural Roundtable and currently the vice president of the Kansas Museum Association. As vice president, Susan's responsible for coordinating the association's annual conference, which is a major educational opportunity for museum professionals. Susan, we welcome you to the program.
Thank you.
Susan Hawksworth, definitely doing great things around Salina, Mark, and I know you have some wonderful questions lined up for Susan, and I look forward to hearing your discussion about being genuine here today.
Thank you, Morgan. I think the topic Susan picked truly fascinates me. In a lot of things that we do in life, you can truly improve. You can work hard on. The one thing you cannot is being genuine. You either are or you're not, plain and simple. And Susan, I want to ask you, would you agree with that statement?
Yes and no. I think you have to be born and raised into being genuine, but I think you can try and learn as best you can to be genuine.
What are some examples that you think people can learn in being genuine, or how they can get the perception of maybe they are genuine, but the perception is they're not genuine?
The biggest thing I see about being genuine is not playing games. You say what you mean what you say, and if you're having trouble having that come across, don't try to play the games of other people, and just be yourself and good things will come.
Absolutely, and I'll add to that, decide what it means to be genuine. This may not be as easy right now because we're always under the influence of a lot of people, but you have to put your heart into it and say what you feel. How has being genuine, you feel, helped the museum grow?
Well, being in the museum industry, you need to be genuine anyway, because you're imparting information to the best of your knowledge to your visitors and patrons for the museum. And so being naturally genuine helps a lot with that. People trust what you're going to say, and that you're trying to say the most accurate thing possible.
Absolutely. I'd add into that, don't do a facade. Don't compromise your integrity. That is very, very critical and very important. What advice would you give to someone who feels that they are genuine, but maybe people aren't warming up to them?
Oh, I think kind of what you said. Don't try to put on a facade or be someone you're not. Be who you are and say, what you believe, and say it with passion. I think that's another big part of being genuine, is having passion for what you believe in and saying that.
Absolutely. I would also add, a genuine leader molds consensus, and failure is authentic because it's really pure. And until you have that, you're able to improve on that. What's a way that you use genuine in your position with the staff to mold consensus?
Oh, I think that's a really good point. Building consensus is vital to our museum staff. We have to work together as a team to be able to get anything done, because there's so much that we do with exhibits and educational programs and caring for the collections, that we need to really work as a team and build that consensus and be genuine with each other, because the more you try to play games or try to, say something that you think someone else might want to hear, all that does is slow the team down and doesn't allow the team to grow and be the best they can.
Absolutely. I'd also add on, it's very easy to spot genuine people, even in a crowd of thousands, because there's so many fake people around that the genuine are few in between, and whenever they are, you gravitate to them, and people gravitate to them from leadership, from employees, customers, vendors, partners. And that's what's unique about that. And you can set yourself apart by truly being, a genuine person. One thing that I wanted to ask you, Susan, is tell us a little bit about what new things are going on in the museum. Where do you see it going in the future?
Oh, we got a lot of great things going on in the museum. We have a new exhibit that's going to be opening April 16th. It's called Capturing an Image, and it's on the history of photography. So we're going to have lots of photographs on display, lots of cameras and other items that have to deal with photography and moving pictures. We're working currently on redoing our children's hands-on area. That's been in place, I think, for 21 years, and we are currently in the development process of figuring out what all is going into that area, and we're going to be starting a capital campaign to raise the money to refurbish that whole area and make it completely different and a big wow.
Excellent. The museum, it's really cool on the inside. It's really neat on the outside. It's easy to get there. There's ample parking. And Susan, what are the hours for the museum?
We are open Tuesday through Sunday. Tuesday through Friday is 12 to 5, Saturday 10 to 5, and Sunday 1 to 5.
So very flexible for anyone out there who hasn't been there or would like to go there.
One thing I'd like to add is that the admission is free, so it doesn't cost anything to come in, enjoy, and learn about Salina and the Saline County history. We have a First Thursday coming up also, and it is going to be on the photography of Francis Morris Steele. It's going to be presented by Jim Hoy, who is a professor out at Emporia State University and also has written several books on the history of the plains.
I actually have a follow-up question here for you, Susan.
Yes.
You'd mentioned a little bit there about how you have so many new events and acts, exhibits always come into the museum. You also mentioned how admission is free. So that begs the question. Obviously, if admission's free, you have to be finding sponsorship and donations from somewhere. How do you utilize being genuine when you're out with the community in your Capitol building campaigns to really fund what the Smoky Hill Museum does?
Oh, I think it's really important to be genuine with sponsors, but you have to tell them what it is that they are sponsoring and letting them know that what you are going to do is what you say you're going to do.
Absolutely. I would always say under promise and over deliver.
All right. Well, Susan, we appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to come visit with us today on our topic about being genuine here on The Mark with Mark Hamade. That was really some great stuff for our listeners. Hopefully they will be able to take that to heart and work. And some of the people out there, like you mentioned, the ones that maybe aren't so genuine right now, there are tools and keys out there, ways that you can work on becoming a more genuine person. Even if it's not your first nature, it can still be done. It just takes a little bit more work. And hopefully, Susan, you've helped guide some of our listeners to being able to accomplish that. And thanks again for coming in.
Thank you, Morgan and Mark.
You're welcome. Thank you.
When we return, we will delve into our social media mailbox. Got a great question coming up for you guys today from one of our listeners at facebook.com/Salina Radio. So stick around for that. We'll be back with more On The Mark right after this on 95.5 The Rock. Welcome back to the show dedicated to your success in business, industry, and in your everyday lives. It's On The Mark with Mark Hamade right here on 95.5 The Rock, sponsored by Salina Iron and Metal, serving you from the same location for more than 100 years. By Speedy Cash. Need cash fast? Visit your Salina Speedy Cash at Crawford and Broadway. By PKM Steel. Quality, passionate employees building tomorrow today. By Hassman Termite and Pest Control, providing 50 years of quality service from the Hassman family. And by the Reardon Clinic, experts in nutritional medicine, finding answers and not covering up symptoms. Learn more at reardonclinic.org. That's RIORDAN clinic.org. Now it's time to delve into our social media mailbox. Today's question comes from Anna Rothschild. Anna writes in, Mark, do you sacrifice being genuine just to keep the peace at work? A very basic question, right to the point, but one that definitely is something that most people are going to face throughout the course of their time at any given job. So, Mark, we'll pose the question to you. Do you sacrifice being genuine just to keep the peace at work?
Absolutely not. I've never sacrificed it, not with anything. I would rather eat cat food underneath a bridge and be unemployed than be not genuine, because it will come back and haunt you.
Well, what advice then would you give for someone like Anna who is trying to be genuine but is obviously getting her into trouble at work?
Well, it's hard to answer that because I don't know what kind of trouble she's getting into, but I would say you want to be genuine with maybe a little bit of a PC, a little bit of warmness, I guess, in a sense, and kind of explain why you're being genuine and how it could help. I mean, there's a difference between being genuine and rubbing it in. I mean, as an example, Morgan, if your girlfriend likes me and I said, oh, hey, Morgan, your girlfriend likes me, she won't stop talking to me. Am I being genuine or am I rubbing it in your face?
You're being both. You're being both.
So you want to be careful by being genuine and caring.
That's a conversation we better never have.
That's right. By being genuine and caring and really understand and help that person in that sense. Now, have I told people, hey, don't wear that because it doesn't look good on you, or don't go outside looking like that? Yes. Is that hurting somebody's feeling? Well, I'd rather somewhat hurt their feeling and be genuine as a true friend than have other people laugh at them, and I would expect the same. So I've had employees tell me, hey, Mark, you did this, or don't do this, or don't do that. Do I get angry and say, oh, you're in trouble, or this? No, I appreciate that. That tells me that they truly care. And that's what's important.
And I'll get onto that with you here, Mark. In a past job, I worked with somebody who, great person, but they had a little bit of body odor. And it's hard to tell somebody something like that, but in the interest of being genuine and looking out for their best interest, I was the one, and nobody wanted to tell this person, and I was the one that finally broke down and was the one that had the conversation with them. And I tried to be just as nice and polite as possible as I could with it, but at the same time, I had to get to the point so that there could be change enacted for the better. And that's always something to keep in mind. It's not always the being genuine part, because you're going to be genuine. It's about the approach that you use while you're being genuine. So be courteous. Take that PC approach if you need to get your point across while still managing to maintain that genuineness about yourself. And this person, they appreciated after I told them, and the problem went away. So, I mean, obviously, they were probably happy to know, oh man, I have an issue. Otherwise, if it would have kept going, I would have known that they would have already known that they had that issue and just didn't care. It apparently was something that they weren't aware of, and after somebody spoke up and told them, they took care of the issue, and then everybody was happier for it going forward, including that person I told. It was able to help them lead to more success through their job, which was also another sales-related position. It can sometimes be a very superficial business. So your look, your scent, all of these things when it comes down to sales are critical. I mean, people will judge you based on your outward appearance until they get to hear what you have to say. You might not even get in the door with a problem like that. So it was just a situation where I felt somebody needed to tell that person the truth. I did that. I used as much compassion as I could with it, and I think the situation played out much better because of it. Well, that's going to do it for our time here on the Mark with Mark Hamade. Anna, we really appreciate you writing in. You'll be scoring a $25 gift card from Tucson Steakhouse. We'll have a new sponsor on for you for the social media mailbox coming up next Wednesday. We'll tell you who that is at that time. But in the meantime, if you want to learn more about what Mark's up to and more keys for your success, go to www.markhamade.com. That's Mark's blog. It's Mark Hamade, HAMADE.com. For Mark, I'm Morgan Lillick saying so long. We'll catch you next Wednesday at 5:30 right here on the Mark with Mark Hamade on 95.5 The Rock. Have a great evening.